Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today, I want to talk about something many of you have probably noticed in recent months, the countless YouTube videos showing dealer lots filled with unsold vehicles, suggesting these cars have been sitting for over a year because nobody wants them. These videos are certainly interesting. Seeing so much unsold inventory is mind-boggling, and it's true that many dealers are struggling. Heck, I mention that here all the time. So in general, I've got no issue with these videos as a concept. The problem is that many viewers then assume prices are destined to plummet. After all, it seems these dealers can't move their inventory, so they must heavily cut prices eventually. But despite how it looks, that's just not the case. You're not getting the full story. The thing is, I wouldn't have any issue with these videos if the underlying message was simply, hey, there are some dealers that are struggling. Find them and take advantage to get a good price on a vehicle. Instead, these videos often imply, directly or indirectly, that prices are about to collapse, the market is going to reset, and a crash is coming. So there's this suggestion that being passive and waiting for a price collapse is the way to go. That if you sit by long enough, you'll eventually get a great deal on a vehicle because prices will come down. But that's just not the case. The reality is that a few overflowing lots don't mean much on their own. It's not a signal that the entire automotive market is struggling or that prices are due for a crash. It just isn't. To make an assessment on the auto market, you got to look at nationwide data for a clearer picture. Supply and demand are not determined by one dealership's inventory, but by hundreds. According to sales reports for 2024, the automotive industry has largely bounced back to pre-pandemic levels. Both General Motors and Ford have seen a rise in sales. Meanwhile, Stellantis brands, Jeep, Dodge, and Ram have experienced a 15% decline, which is not insignificant, but it's also far from an industry-wide catastrophe. Thus, if you come across a video or article featuring jam-packed dealer lots, it's probably either a Stellantis brand or an outlier case for another automaker. The idea that these select instances of overcrowded lots would drive down prices across the industry overlooks the fact that most manufacturers and dealerships are doing just fine. You also have to keep in mind that many dealerships are either delusional or stubborn when it comes to pricing. In an earlier video this week, YouTuber Jason Samko noted that some dealerships seem to be managed by individuals who are hard-headed, so they just won't budge on prices. How they plan to handle all that unsold inventory, no one knows, but they certainly aren't discounting it. For some dealers, it's reached a point where they believe cutting prices will do little to fix their situation because they're already too deep in the red. Another thing to consider is that even if a dealer desperately wants to discount vehicles, the automaker they represent might restrict them from advertising those cuts. Brands have a vested interest in maintaining higher prices across their entire network, so they won't let a single dealership publicly slash prices. If a struggling dealership were to do that, it could undermine the overall brand. This is why I say that struggling dealers often end up basically taking one for the team. They can't openly lower prices, even if it means cars gather dust on their lots. Meanwhile, the automakers themselves have often already been paid, having sold those vehicles to dealers at an agreed-upon invoice price. As long as the automakers see healthy sales figures on a nationwide scale, they are unlikely to relax restrictions or encourage substantial discounting at any of their dealerships. In essence, these struggling dealerships are a sacrifice to maintain inflated prices. From an automaker's standpoint, why risk crashing the entire market by allowing a few struggling dealers to offer steep discounts? The dealers, whether or not they like it, are going to be part of whatever strategy the automaker goes with. And right now, automakers want to stick with the margin strategy. Now, this margin strategy is not from the viewpoint of the dealers, because normally a margin strategy would mean fewer cars being produced at a higher profit margin. But that's not what's happening right now. Instead, we have same volume but at higher prices. But automakers can get away with it because the dealerships take on all the risks of this strategy, because they have to buy whatever units they get sent at whatever invoice price the automaker set. If they sell, and if not, they go bankrupt. Either ways, the automakers win. But anyways, what do you guys think about this? Let me know in the comment section below, and I'll see you guys in the next one.